My last place pick for the Northwest Conference in the upcoming 2011 season is the Pacific Boxers, who went 0-9 last season in their first season of football in 15 to 20 years. Even though 0-9 always looks terrible, there was hope for the program in this upcoming season. In the last 4 games of last season, Pacific Boxers showed a lot of competitive edge against teams like Whitworth, Puget Sound, Menlo, and even their loss to Pacific Lutheran. Pacific Lutheran won that game 50-23, but it took 19 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to put away the Boxers. There's a long way to go in the uphill climb, but Keith Buckley is showing a lot of promise as a coach for these young players. However, with that being said, a last place finish in 2011 is to be expected. I have Puget Sound as the 6th place team for the upcoming 2011 season in the Northwest Conference. In 2009, Puget Sound went 0-9 and much had the same kind of season as Pacific just did. However, in their second year under Coach Jeff Thomas, Puget Sound improved their record to 2-7 and at times showed a flashy offense that could pile up points. They returned wide receiver Adam Niffen, who was a first-team all-conference player as a sophomore in 2010. Even though Puget Sound will probably finish 6th place this year, again, there's a lot of hope for the program, and there's potential to possibly be better than 6. Time will tell, but they'll be an interesting team to watch. My 5th place pick in 2011 for the Northwest Conference is Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark is a hard team to figure because they have the talent to be better than 5th place. They return quarterback sensation Keith Welch, who ran for just under 1,000 yards last year as a quarterback in the D3 level, which is almost unheard of. And he also had 7 yards a carry and 14 touchdowns, along with a QB rating of 134. This guy, if his throwing gets to a more dominant level, is probably the best quarterback in the conference. It's pretty hard to argue against that. Lewis and Clark also returns running back Javante Mays for his senior year, who ran for just under 800 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, playing second banana to Welsh. And Lewis and Clark also returns tight end Sean Evans, who is a preseason All-American in the D3.com polls. And last year they went 4-5, which was their best record since 1995. There's a lot of room to grow with this team. A lot of potential to be a top half team in the conference. With all that being said, there's a reason why I have them as a 5th place pick. And the first one is their defense. Their defense gave up 40 points and 420 yards of offense a game last year. If they don't improve dramatically on that side of the ball, it really doesn't matter how good their offense is. They're still going to lose games and probably finish with a losing record again. And the other reason I haven't picked as 5th is the fact that last season's record was their best since 1995. Now, usually when a school has their best year in 15, 20 years or more, usually it's more of a record of like 8-1 or undefeated season or, something a lot more dominant than 4-5. Now, don't get me wrong, Lewis and Clark has the potential to get a winning record this year. But when 4-5 is your best year in 15, 20, in 16 years, you have a lot of proving to do. And so the safe pick is to put Lewis and Clark all the way down at number 5. My 4th place pick for the Northwest Conference in 2011 is Pacific Lutheran. Now, on the outset, that looks like a lousy prediction. They went 8-1 last year, finished the season ranked runner-up in the Northwest Conference, only to Linfield. And they have 60 votes in the preseason top 25 poll, which ranks 26th in the nation. So there's a lot of love going around for Pacific Lutheran. To say that they won't even be top 3 in the league sounds rather biased. But I don't think so, and here is why. Pacific Lutheran lost 15 starters from last season, which include running back Alan Simmons, quarterback Jord Rasmussen, wide receiver Greg Ford, and wide receiver Isaac Moog. They lost 80% of their offensive production, roughly, give or take a few. Now, they do have 4 of their top 5 tacklers coming back from last season. Linebacker Adam Schwander, defensive back Sean McFadden, linebacker Michael Warsaw, and defensive lineman Eric Magnuson. So their defense has a decent core. They'll probably be decent. Their offense, though, lost everything. And the guys who are coming back, who were behind them, we hardly saw them last year. So we don't know what they got. And there's just way too many unknowns for Pacific Lutheran's offense to have them as a contender for the league. So, because of that, I have them going 4th place this year in the Northwest Conference. My 3rd place prediction for the Northwest Conference in 2011 is the Whitworth Pirates. Now, I can already hear all the arguments and the critiques coming back, circulating through the brain about why I would possibly pick Whitworth over Pacific Lutheran, who's coming off a year they finished in the top 25, to contend for the league title at 3rd place. Well, for Whitworth, on the offensive side, there are a lot of unknowns. And, you lose a running back like Adam Anderson, who's an All-American, the best running back Whitworth has ever had. You lose all your experienced quarterbacks. All 5 QBs who are on the roster right now have not thrown a pass in a game before. And you got largely an experienced group of running backs and receivers to fill out those skill positions. The one thing they do have on offense, though, is they have 5 offensive linemen, all 5 returning from last year's starting 5. So, basically, on the offensive side of the ball, they have a great O-line, and if their new skill players are any good, having a good O-line will give you more time to do your thing. On the defensive side of the ball, Whitworth has 7 starters to replace. However, at every position they have to replace, they have a group of guys who are experienced upperclassmen with game experience from last year. When you have that kind of experience coming back, who weren't starters, it should be only natural for them to step up and be as productive as the previous year's team was. So on the defensive side of the ball, Whitworth will probably be as solid as they were last year, which was about, middle of the pack conference-wise. It was a decent defense. And because of the offense and because of the defense, I think Whitworth has just enough going for them that should they come together this year, they could easily finish 3rd place and possibly contend for the league title if things went right. My 2nd place prediction for the Northwest Conference in 2011 is none other than Willamette University. Last season, the Bearcats went 7-3, finished 3rd in the conference, but the statistics didn't indicate that. They led the conference in yards rushing per game, passer efficiency, and turnover margin. They ranked 2nd in the conference in a lot of other categories too, which included points, total offense, scoring defense, rush defense, and total defense. Returning 7 starters on defense and 5 on offense, the Bearcats seem poised to challenge Linfield for that 1st place spot in the conference. Led by quarterback Brian Whitting, who led the conference in passer efficiency last year, Willamette has the perfect combination of passing and rushing, and other than Linfield the last couple of years have been the best offense in the league. That early season matchup with Linfield in the opening conference game of the season will probably decide the conference title. Look for Willamette to have a huge year this year, and if they do overthrow Linfield as the conference champs, it will be of no surprise. And to no surprise, Linfield is my pick to win the Northwest Conference in 2011. Linfield lost a lot of talent from the last season or two. Most notably, quarterback Aaron Bomey, who was the 2-time Offensive Player of the Year and possibly the best dual-threat quarterback in the country. Running back Simon Lampson, who averaged 6.2 yards a carry and had 15 rushing touchdowns in a pass-happy offense. Wide receiver Cliff Sazak, who led the team in receiving yards last season. And Defensive Player of the Year defensive end Eric Heaton, who's now playing in the Arena Football League. On the offensive side, though, Linfield has enough guys coming back that they should be a good offensive club again. Running back Aaron Williams, the 2009 first-team all-conference running back, returns for his senior year after injuries cut his year short last season. The receiving core returns two of their top three receivers from last year. Buddy Saxon, a 6'6", 218-pound receiver who led the team in receiving touchdowns and averaged 13.7 yards per catch, will give big playmaking abilities to the Linfield offense. And DJ Wiersma, who was second on the team in yards and receptions, is a proven possession receiver, and if you need a first down, is a good guy to throw to. The offensive line looks to be strong again. And the biggest mystery of Linfield's offense is the quarterback situation. Mickey Inns was the third-string quarterback last season as a sophomore, and everyone else was a freshman. And so now they're all a year older, and it remains to be seen who will take over that quarterback spot. Whoever does, they will be surrounded by playmakers in the backfield and in the receiving core. And their job will be to manage the game, avoid turnovers, and get the ball to the playmakers. Linfield's offense looks to be strong again in 2011. On the defensive side of the ball, despite losing Defensive Player of the Year Eric Heaton, Linfield returns a lot of defenders, which include preseason All-American safety Drew Fisher and cornerback Nate Dixon, one of the best cornerbacks in the nation and a first-team All-Conference cornerback. With defensive talent like Linfield's, which over the last 2 years have forced a staggering 81 turnovers in 24 games and gave up only 15.5 points per game last season, the Linfield defense looks to be really strong again. But unlike the last 2 years, Linfield's defense might have to carry a bit more of the load than they've had to. That being said, Linfield opens the year with a really tough game against number 17 Cal Lutheran, who beat them in last year's season opener and returns 18 starters from that team. It'll be a doozy of a game. For Division III, it could be a similar kind of game to the Oregon LSU game in D1. This will be a big game which will test Linfield's abilities and weaknesses right away. With that being said, Linfield's offense will be finding itself probably early in the season. The defense might have to carry more of the load, but I suspect by middle of the season's end, Linfield's offense will have caught up with their defense. They'll be a great team again, and they will probably walk away this year with their third straight conference title.